Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Study Corner. Dear student, in this video, we will discuss a factor which delayed the constitution making process in the initial years of Pakistan. So before going to discuss the factor, let me discuss the short background on the constitution making process in the initial years of Pakistan. So, according to Indian Independence Act 1947, Indian subcontinent was partitioned into two independent states, Pakistan and India. So with partition, British rule in India came to an end. One of the provision of Indian Independence Act 1947 was that the two new constituent assemblies would be set up, the Constituent Assembly of Pakistan and Constituent Assembly of India. So, consisting of the public representatives of Muslims and non-Muslims elected in general elections of 1946. So these constituent assemblies would frame new constitutions for their respective state until the Government of India Act 1935 would act as a provisional constitution for the both countries. So India was able to frame its constitution in 1950, whereas Pakistan took a long period of 9 years to make a constitution. So we will discuss the factors one by one. So the major problem was immediate problems. When Pakistan came into being, it had to face more pressing issues which needed immediate redressal. With partition, millions of Muslim refugees flooded into Pakistan to escape the cruel persecution and massacres in the different part of India. The refugees were 6.5 million, I think. 6.5 million refugees flooded into Pakistan. Their accommodation, shelter, clothing, food, medication had to be ensured before long-term measures were taken for their permanent settlement. Similarly, on April 1948, Pakistan had to face another big problem that India blocked river water coming from Kashmir through the Indian territorial, putting the very survival of Pakistan in danger. The new state was to be started from the scratch. It had a crippled economy and a vulnerable security. So to make things worse, India did not give a great share of Pakistan military and financial assets. These and similar other immediate problems consumed most of the time and energy of the government and left little time and energy to work on the framing a new constitution for the Pakistan. So it's the later constitution making process in Pakistan. Next is the death of Qaid-e-Azam. Sorry. While addressing to the Constituent Assembly on 11th August 1947, Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah had provided the outline for the constitution making. He did not live longer and died on 11 September 1948 before he could give a constitution to his people. Had he lived longer, the constitutional dilemma would have resolved much easier. Qaid-e-Azam was considered to be a neutral and very acceptable leader for both wings of the country, East and West Pakistan. So he would have amicably resolved the issue with regard to constitutional controversies that erupted between East and West Pakistan after his death. So death of Qaid-e-Azam was also a major factor which delayed the constitution making process in Pakistan. Next, language issue. As I said before, the basic principles committee had also proposed Urdu to be declared as the national language of Pakistan. Urdu as the national language was opposed by East Pakistani members of the assembly. They demanded to make Bengali as the national language, since it was a language of majority people, because Bengalis form 54% of the total population of the new country. So language controversy caused a type of deadlock in the constitution making process in the Pakistan. So Bengalis were supporting the Bengali language. So West Pakistan was supporting the Urdu language. So there was no consensus. So the language controversy caused a type of deadlock in the constitution making process in the Pakistan. Next, system of government or government style, we can say, or differences on the government style. Some leaders were supporting federal system of government, while the others were supporting parliamentary system. So there was no consensus. Usually the politicians from the East Pakistan were supporting parliamentary system, and the politicians from the West Pakistan were supporting federal system. So there was no consensus on the style of the government. This reason was responsible for the delay in the constitution making process in the Pakistan. Next is political contention in corruption. After the said demise of the Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Muslim League fell victim to intrigues and disunity. Intense internal conflicts and selfishness brought about disintegration in the party. So party fell into the hands of opportunists who resorted to undemocratic ways and means, indulging in political mischiefs and intrigues. So consequently, little attention was paid to the constitution making process, and the constitution was delayed. The another reason was a problem of geographical representation. So here, East Pakistan was demanding more representation on the basis of the more population, because their population was 54%. They were demanding the representation on the basis of their population. So West Pakistan was demanding equal representation for both wings on the basis of geographical units. So this was also a major reason which delayed the constitution making process in the Pakistan. Next was disagreement on the content of the objective resolution. The objective resolution passed on 12 March 1949 is a preamble for the future constitution. Drew several criticism from everyone, especially three sides. First, ulama complained. Ulama complained that the given draft was not sufficiently Islamic. They were complaining that the content of the objective resolution or draft was not sufficiently Islamic, as it did not make Sharia the law of the country. So, second, the minorities complained that they were not given sufficient protection. Third, East Pakistanis showed their resentments on the principle of equality because they were in majority. They also complained about making only Urdu as a national language of the country. So there were no consensus among these groups, and the constitution was delayed. Next, difference on the nature of the constitution. Usually the liberal and enlightened politicians were supporting a liberal constitution,